Mangwana ni mwalelepo fukenjani klekla savana ve Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show, bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Bedi on Thursday, the 5th of December. In our stories today, mystery disease kills 143 in southwest Congo. Ghana is heading for its 9th general election since multi-party politics resumed in 1992. And Zimbabwe is considering launching the National Sex Offenders Register. That last story will be brought by Talent Gore, our correspondent in Zimbabwe. Follow all our programs on oneup2.com or DSTV 285 and GoTV25 in Namibia, as well as Network Media Hub on YouTube. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
As the holiday season draws near, ShopRite and Synergy Chatbot are delivering the Christmas spirit. Welcome at Santa's wish list. Follow the instructions to submit your drawing and letter to Santa. Step 1. Start by drawing a picture for Santa. And when you're done, just jot down a few details about yourself right next to it. Step 2. Scan the QR code and it will open up WhatsApp with a little message that says #ShopRiteSanta. Just send that message to Santa. Or if you like, you can also type #ShopRiteSanta into WhatsApp and send it to the number as indicated. Step 3. Follow the simple steps in the chatbot and submit your name and age, and most excitingly, the present you've picked from the list. Don't forget to include your physical address so Santa can find his way to you. Step 4. Once you've completed the previous steps, snap a photo of your drawing and your letter to Santa to submit your entry.
Now, remember, I'm looking forward to all the wonderful drawings and letters you'll be sending my way. See you soon, and keep spreading that holiday cheer. Ho, ho, ho!
Let's get into the top stories. A flu-like disease that has killed dozens of people over 2 weeks is being investigated in southwestern Congo. Local authorities said the deaths were recorded between November 10 and November 25 in the Panzi health zone of Congo province. Provincial Health Minister Apollinaire Yumba told reporters over the weekend that symptoms include fever, headache, cough, and anemia. The Deputy Provincial Governor Remy Saki told the Associated Press on Tuesday that between 67 and 143 people had died. A team of epidemiological experts is expected in the region to take samples and identify the problem, he added. Yumba advised the population to exercise caution and refrain from contact with dead bodies to avoid contamination. He called on national and international partners to send medical supplies to deal with the health crisis. Congo is already plagued by mpox epidemic with more than 47,000 suspected cases and over 1,000 suspected deaths from the disease in the Central African country, and this is according to the World Health Organization. WHO is aware of the unidentified disease and has a team on the ground working with local health services to collect samples, according to an organization employee who spoke on condition of anonymity because he wasn't authorized to talk to the media. Ghana is heading for its 9th general election since multi-party politics resumed in 1992. In that time, there have been 3 peaceful transfers of power, with the 2 main parties, the National Democratic Congress and the New Patriotic Party, holding the presidency for a total of 16 years each. Here, looking at the big issues this time around is as the NPP goes for an unprecedented 3rd successive term in power. Ghanaians were hit particularly hard in the pocket by the global bout of inflation beginning early in 2022, which saw prices rise in the country at their fastest rate for more than 2 decades. The annual rate of increase reached a peak of 54.1% in December 2022. It has since come down, but this is just an average, and prices of some staples have continued to go up sharply. The last 3 decades have seen a series of closely fought and peaceful elections. As a result, Ghana has often been held up as an example of an open democracy that has turned its back on instability and its history of coups in a region where they are still an issue. In some cases, elections hinged on just tens of thousands of votes, and despite occasional legal challenges, the results have generally been accepted by the losers. Now, we expect to find out the results of this year's race within 3 days of the 7 December election. Staying with elections, we highlighted this story yesterday, but this time we're leaning more on Namibia's new president-elect being a woman. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah of Namibia's ruling SWAPO party has been elected president and will be the first female leader, and this is according to the results released by the country's electoral commission. Nandi-Ndaitwah, 72, is the current vice president. Her victory will extend SWAPO's 34 years in power since it led Namibia to independence from apartheid South Africa in 1990. She received roughly 57% of valid votes in the presidential race, according to a breakdown given by the Electoral Commission of Namibia. Nandi-Ndaitwah needed to secure more than 50% of the votes to secure a win. Now, the Namibian nation has voted for peace and stability, Nandi-Ndaitwah said after being declared president-elect. She joined SWAPO in the 1960s when it was fighting for independence and has served in numerous senior roles, including foreign minister in the democratic era. Her main challenger in this election was Pandeleni Itula from the Independent Patriots for Change party, who came second with roughly 26% of votes. Namibians voted separately for the National Assembly. SWAPO won a majority there, securing 51 of the 96 elected seats. The IPC won 20 seats and will be the official opposition. The IPC has said it will challenge the results in court, calling the electoral process deeply flawed. Let's have a look.
First and foremost, as I stand here to receive this 2024 presidential and National Assembly elections, I would like, on behalf of the SWAPO party leadership, members, SWAPO supporters and sympathizers, to thank the Namibian people for once again having shown their confidence and trust on the SWAPO party to continue providing guidance on our developmental agenda and on the strengthening of our institution. I would also like to thank the Namibian people who have shown their love of their country by ensuring that peace and stability continue to prevail in our country, particularly during the campaign and throughout the process of our elections. I would also like to thank the commissioners under your leadership, Chairperson, for having finalized the process that we are here today to receive the results. As I'm accepting this result, I would say once again on behalf of the SWAPO party, the Namibian nation has voted for peace and stability. You have voted for unity in diversity, natural resources beneficiation, and youth empowerment for sustainable development. And this you will do through economic transformation. It was in the same room in 2019 when our third president, our late Dr. Hage Geingob, may his soul rest in eternal peace, when he stood here and he said, we Namibians, we heard you. Today I'm saying to the Namibian people, as we have been telling you throughout the campaign, for us in the SWAPO party and the team that I'm going to lead, we have made commitments, and I'm saying to you, we are going to do what we have told you. Thank you for your trust and confidence on us.
Staying with Namibia, the Institute for Public Policy Research hosted its 4th Regional Anti-Corruption Conference. This was at the Kavango River Lodge in Rundu. Graham Hopwood, Executive Director of IPPR, pointed out the organization's commitment to tackling corruption and driving governance in Namibia.
It's a think tank, and we have a strong focus on governance issues, and we have had probably for the last 15 years. We've existed since 2001. This project, Integrity Namibia, comes out of that long-standing commitment to looking at how Namibia can tackle corruption better, can hopefully eliminate the risks of corruption and improve our governance policies and implementation of those policies in general. So this is actually the 4th regional conference that we've held on anti-corruption issues. We started off in Walvis Bay. Obviously, fishing and fish rot was a big issue at that particular conference. We then
Speaking at the same anti-corruption conference, National Council MP and Regional Councillor for Rundu Rural, Paulus Mbangu, drew attention to critical resource constraints affecting his region.
So regional council, number one is the issue of resource constraint. Resources are limited. We have a limited financial resources, we have a limited human resources, which also hinder the delivery of service, such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure development. It's a known fact that we have very few clinics in the region. It's a known fact that we have very few health centers in the region. It's a known fact that we don't have an intermediate hospital in the region. In fact, most of these hospitals were built before independence. We have Andara Hospital built before independence, Nyangana the same, and Rundu Hospital also the same. What we did after independence is just an extension of the maternity ward. And now, some of the challenges is that when a patient is critically ill, you have to be transported about more than 700 kilometers to go to Windhoek to access better health care. And imagine a critical person. And in an ambulance, there's no doctor who would want to travel to be in that ambulance. So it's only the nurses that have to attend to that patient. Those are some of the challenges that we are grappling with. And we have always been saying that perhaps there's also a need for us to have an intermediate hospital here.
After the break, we talk to Talent Gore in Zimbabwe as she delivers the congratulatory messages from President Emmerson Mnangagwa, albeit not sent by the president, but of course giving us the news of those congratulations to Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah of Namibia, and also the story of Zimbabwe considering launching a national sex offenders register. Stay with us.
ShopRite Namibia and Synergy Chatbot are delivering the Christmas spirit. This festive season, I've got a very special surprise just for you. My magical elves will be delivering gifts straight to your doorsteps. Grab your crayons or pencils and draw me a picture. Simply save the number on your phone and follow the on-screen prompts.
All right, it's time to talk to our correspondent in Zimbabwe, Talent Gore. Talent Wamkase.
Tamuka Wamkase Africa.
Tamuka Hedu. Now, in your first story, Talent, President Emmerson Mnangagwa has congratulated Madam Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, who emerged victorious in Namibia, becoming the first female president of the country.
Yes, President Emerson Mnangagwa has congratulated the new Namibian president, Madam Nandi-Ndaitwah, who emerged victorious in the just ended elections. President Emerson Mnangagwa said that Zimbabwe was ready to work with the new president and said that the victory is a reflection of the trust and confidence that the people of Namibia have in her leadership. He also said that on behalf of the Zimbabwean government and the people of the Republic of Zimbabwe, I would like to extend to you my sincerest congratulations on your historic election as the president of Namibia. He said that as of now, Zimbabwe stands ready to work with Namibia and with the new president.
All right, Talent. Now moving on to your next story. Zimbabwe is considering launching a national sex offenders register to track individuals convicted of sexual offenses. Tell us more.
Yes, yesterday, speaking at the meeting on the feasibility of this National Sex Offenders Registry, the Justice and Parliamentary Affairs Secretary said that the issue of a National Sex Offenders Register is paramount as it touches the heart of justice and child protection systems. She said that in recent years, Zimbabwe, like many other countries, has faced a growing concern over the alarming rates of sexual violence, particularly against women and children. And as the government of Zimbabwe, they have a duty to ensure that the justice system is not only punitive but also preventive, safeguarding the safety and security of those at the risk of sexual exploitation and abuse. So right now, the government is considering to set up that registry, and we'll get more next year to see if they've actually consider that. But right now they're just doing meetings, but they are considering actually coming up with that registry, because right now in Zimbabwe, as we're speaking, we have been recording quite a number of sexual offenses, particularly against young girls and women. So it will be very, very important for the government to come up with this national registry for sex offenders, or rather sexual offenders. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see if actually the government is going to introduce that, or they're just going to keep on saying that we're considering. But we do hope that they do consider this, and it actually comes to fruition, because as of now, the rate at which young women and girls and even older women are being abused is quite high. So it would be good for the government to introduce the sexual offenders registry.
All right, Talent, we'll certainly be looking forward to an update on that story. Thank you very much for bringing us the news stories as they are from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
Now, according to the latest update of the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index, 112 countries, home to 6.3 billion people, have been surveyed. And one of the most alarming findings is that over half of the 1.1 billion people living in acute poverty are children. We'll be talking about that when we get into economic news after weather. Now, according to the latest update of the Global Multidimensional Poverty Index, 112 countries, home to 6.3 billion people, have been surveyed. One of the most alarming findings is that over half of the 1.1 billion people living in acute poverty are children. Sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia bear the brunt of this global issue. A staggering 83.2% of the world's multidimensionally poor live in these two regions. Sub-Saharan Africa alone accounts for 553 billion people trapped in poverty, while South Asia is home to another 402 million. The deprivations are many and varied, but some of the most pressing include inadequate housing, poor sanitation, lack of electricity, limited access to cooking fuel, poor nutrition, and insufficient education. Among the 1.1 billion people living in poverty, 828 million lack access to adequate sanitation, while 886 million live without sufficient housing. A shocking 998 million people are without clean cooking fuel, and nearly half of them, 579 million, have no access to electricity. The Global Multidimensional Poverty Index is a vital tool for measuring severe poverty in over 100 developing nations. It creates a deprivation profile for each household using 10 indicators related to health, education, and living standards, providing a comprehensive view to better understand and address poverty globally. Now, President Joe Biden of the USA got a first-hand look at a U.S.-financed rail project that weaves together his love of railroads with his desire to leave a legacy in Africa that will outlive his administration. U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday headed to a U.S.-financed African development project that, as we said, weaves together his love for railroads, and of course he's doing his best to improve on his legacy before he leaves office. The Lobito Corridor is a 1,300-kilometer railway line stretching from copper-rich Zambia to the port of Lobito in the southwest nation of Angola. The network will form a strategic economic corridor under the Biden administration's Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment, an initiative meant to counter China's well-established sprawling Belt and Road Initiative. So far, the Biden administration says it has committed nearly $4 billion towards the project. Biden, in Angola's capital this week, cast the project through his love of passenger rail. As a U.S. Senator, he commuted to Washington from Wilmington, Delaware, logging, he said, nearly 340 kilometers on every trip. I must tell you up front with American press here, I'm probably the most pro-rail guy in America, Biden said on Tuesday in Angola's capital, to laughter from the audience gathered to hear him speak at the nation's slavery museum. On Wednesday, he toured the Lobito port terminal and met with Angolan President João Lourenço, DRC President Felix Tshisekedi, Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema, and Tanzanian Vice President Philip Mpango. Those have been our economic news stories. We'll take a quick break and return with your highlights from the show.
Only free range. What's right for our laying hens is right for you. Only local, never imported. Only date-stamped eggshells so you know it's still fresh. The only eggs to choose.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast. Let's have a look at some of the highlights. Mystery disease kills 143 in southwest Congo. Top 10 African countries with the highest populations in severe multidimensional poverty. Those have been our stories on Africa Good Morning. DSTV 285, GoTV 25 is where you can find us on the TV screen. If you prefer to stream, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. From me, Ashwin Bedi, and the Africa Good Morning team, Suraj Kanaka.